of the National Awards and Recognition Committee. My 3-year term officially comes to an end as of tomorrow night. And the rest of the committee entrusted me to look after the awards luncheon and a few other things this weekend. I don't know if they trusted me or if that was my punishment for leaving. We're not really sure. Before I get started though, I would like to thank a few people. I'd like to thank Carmen and Baz and Mel from headquarters, past National Awards Recognition Committee Chair Leanne for all of their help the last month or so as I organized everything, panicked a little bit, had a few drinks, had a lot of emails and calls, but I think we got it all sorted over. So I really would like to thank those ladies for all of their help. As well, I would also like to recognize all clubs and all members who did submit for an award this year. Whether you won or not, you are still a winner within your community and within the association. So, first things first, let's see. I've never used one of these little clickers, so I'm apologizing if I screwed up. Oh, there we go. It's okay, it worked. So, for our Diane Rogers Award, this award not only challenges members to find what they figure as the impossible question. We see it for 6 weeks on Facebook, everybody messaging each other, trying to find this. Some people wanting to share answers, some people thinking they've got it all, not really wanting to share. But it also challenges the award committee members as we have to find those questions for you to start looking for. So it's a good challenge both ways. So this year, our winners for the Diane Rogers Kin Pride Award, and yes, I did say winners. The winners are Patrick Bowers, Kinsman Club of Sackville, District 7, and hold on, Melissa Newbold, Connect Club, Fort Saskatchewan in District 4.
He must be a past governor.
Oh my God.
Come on, girl. The objects of the Maple Leaf Award of Distinction are to encourage participation in club activities while becoming familiar with all aspects of the association and to stimulate self-development, improve communication, and foster leadership skills within the first 2 years of being a kin member. The Outstanding Maple Leaf of Distinction Award is for the member whose affidavit totals the highest points in the year submitted. This year's winner is Marie Miles, Vermilion Bay Connect Club, District 2. For those of you that don't know, Marie is unable to attend. We have outgoing Governor Dave Roberts accepting on her behalf. The objective of the National Quill Award is to foster the development of written communication and enhance overall communication skills by producing a story of general interest to kin. A few submissions this year included, why today? How a girl with CF motivated a kinsman to never stop working to make CF stand for Cure Found. We are not alone in our fight. How the spirit of volunteers in Canada is so strong and essential for the survival of associations and foundations that support people in need. Kin in a Box, how a small wooden box and a few words of encouragement helped Annette recognize her potential as a leader. And I would like to read a paragraph out of this year's winning submission. There is no doubt in the family of Kin, passion runs deep. It could even be considered a fundamental of the association. Passion, by one definition, can be defined as a strong preference for activities that people enjoy or even love, find important, and in which time and energy are regularly invested. Our passions help in defining who and are, and with this, also work to shape our value systems. Passion, in its essence, is a fantastic base in which to grow and prosper. But there is a dark side. Is passion your poison? This year's winner of the National Quill Award is Corey Brandt. Is passion your poison?
Yeah, Corey, you look different.
According to George Jessel, the mind is a wonderful thing. It starts working the minute you are born and never stops until you get up to public speak. Yesterday, we were given the opportunity to listen to 12 brave Kin members as they put themselves out there and spoke from the heart, which is never an easy thing to do. And I don't have any information on their speeches. I can't provide you a little bit of that, but I would like to let you know the winner of 2017-18 Founding Member Public Speaking Award is, from District 5, Scott Wood, Victoria Kinsman. We have one last award to finish up our luncheon today, our Outstanding Kin Award, to recognize one member who embodies excellence and volunteerism through their contributions of leadership, inspiration, and dedication to kincanada. This year's nominations really made the judging committee have a hard time as we fished through everything and trying to find who our winner was. A few of the qualities that were within the nomination form I have, and I will let you know just so you have an understanding of how hard this was this year. Superior leadership and motivational skills. Charter president. Respected among her peers and looked to for guidance. Encourages others to continue moving forward, take on leadership roles outside of the club level. Life member. Hal Rogers Fellow. People want to work with him on major projects and seek his advice and approval. Inspires new members to work hard in club and motivates all others around him. Wears red and white colors of kin with pride and inspires that same feeling in others. Understands what it means to be accountable to the membership and how everyday business of the district and club is so important in the success of this organization. A dedicated member of kincanada and is a true inspiration to all that know her. Known for his membership recruiting abilities. Understands that the health of a club is not always in gaining new members, but in retaining the membership they currently have. And the winner of the 2017-2018 Outstanding Kin Award goes to, from the Connect Club of Timmins, Lucy Boysen. On behalf of the National Awards and Recognition Committee, I would like to congratulate all of today's winners, and I want to encourage everyone to participate in the Diane Rogers Kin Proud Award next year. Nominate somebody that you think would be deserving of our Lifetime Achievement Award or our Outstanding Kin Award. As well, there are a lot of other awards that are focused on the club. Talk to your club, get some submissions in. Doesn't take a lot, and it's worthwhile to have the recognition. And I would also like to encourage everyone to try and enter into the public speakers competition. Thank you.
So just before we get started in our educational sessions for this afternoon, let's finish up our lunch, take a 15-minute break, finish up your lunch. If you need to enjoy the fresh air outside for a few minutes, and come on back in 15 minutes. And Carmen has just indicated that the sign up for seating for tonight's service gala, tomorrow night, is sitting at the registration desk. So if we can reconvene in 15 minutes, and we'll kick off this afternoon's educational pieces. Thank you.
Yeah, I noticed that's right.
Working well with my other laptop, it doesn't seem to knock out. So I think my other one it may power it enough for some reason, and because the battery's not charged.
Okay. So I can tell people that
Take your time. Things are happening here. It's good.
People are already on watching in the group.
I'm going to leave this here because I have to set the battery.
Okay.
But I'll keep playing with it later.
Okay.
I'm not sure what happened.
What I could do is just turn the
Second thing
camera
is, what do you want to do with
and
that?
actually PowerPoint.
I haven't seen it. All that added up to where it is.
I'm going to set it up with something
What is your
similar to this, where the camera still can well by making it bigger. The only thing that's I don't think it's full, right? But the service is going to be some presentation.
Okay. Thanks, Harry.
Yeah, that looks good there. That looks really good now. And your lighting's good. Your lighting's good. Yeah, that lighting is better if you come forward. That is much better lighting. All right. I'm going to take a couple, y'all, okay? 3, 2, 1. Just hold it. Just hold. 3, 2, 1. And you one lengthway. Who's going across the front? All right, 3, 2, 1. They look good. They look good. You're very welcome.
Yeah, I think it's like number pronounced.
All right, Jeff, what do you want to know? Sure. Thank you. And hit toes. Toes. Just like doing water aerobics. Cool. You gotta be jumping. Cool. Jump, jump, jump.
My bad. to it. Understand that?
Here's one of
You're
the
good
things
to
I
go.
learned from Ken.
Tums? No, sorry.
Oh, leave that there. Yeah, thank you. Want more Patterson? Do you have some? Yeah, I would. So they bought 2 on every table. And then a couple of weeks open, one choice. Sacrifice. Oh, I did. I did. All right. Okay.
Fellow kin, if you can make your way back to your seats, we'll get rolling here. They're actually going to do the so we're sequestered in that room now, so we're gonna do it next. Jesse, yeah.
Good afternoon, folks. If I could ask everyone to take their seat. We're going to get the next part of the meeting underway. Fellow kin, before we continue with the education section, we do have the results of the National Director election. So we're going to start with that announcement.
You can do it, John. You can do it.
National President Terry, fellow kin, it gives me great honor to announce the results. I'll take one quick moment to thank all of the folks that were in the credentials process this morning. Our governors, Keith, Bonnie, the national directors that were there, and all the scrutineers for making that process as smooth as it could be. And without further ado, your next 4 members joining the national board are, in no particular order, I'm reading them as they were on the ballot. Cameron Kemp. Eli Risk. Jason Andrews. Et finalement, Lucy Boisonneau. At this point in time, I would ask for a motion to be made to destroy the ballots regarding the national director election. So I have Kin Jordan here in the back. Jordan Cameron, Rostown, Kin Smith.
Jordan Cameron.
And I'm going to take Kenneth Cat across from.
I will be the Kinsman Club of Annie Ganesh right now, accredited delegate.
The variety of Kincanada right there. Question? All those in favor, signify by raising. Those contrary minded? Motion carried. Thank you very much.
Thank you, National Director Mitch.
I could not sit behind that podium.
I'd like to call forward National Education and Training Committee member Debbie Flagg to introduce our next presentation.
That's you.
Good afternoon. On behalf of the National Education and Training Committee, it's my pleasure to introduce our next guest speaker. For those from District 1, he's a familiar face as he's a 7-year member of the Kin Club of Flamborough. He's a proud family man and father to a son, Lucas, 2.5, and his wife. It's her birthday, so he's told us he has to leave here. Happy wife, happy life is what he told me. He works for the City of Hamilton in youth engagement and youth strategies. And sadly, Coop, he's a Leafs fan. Today, Jesse hopes that each of you takes away the ability to look at how you can maximize the tools in your toolbox and open your minds to how community partnerships open up more resources to allow us as kin to do what we do. So without further ado, family of kin, please welcome Jesse Williamson.
Can everybody hear me? Yes. I cannot stand still behind a podium for 40 minutes, so I'm going to use the lapel and walk around a little bit and have a good time with you everybody today. How's everyone doing? Everybody enjoying everything so far? Come on, we can do better than that. Are we all enjoying ourselves? Yes? There, that's what I'm talking about. That's what I'm talking about. So yes, as Debbie said, my name is Jesse Williamson, and I am a member of the Flamborough Kin Club. For those that don't know where Flamborough is, it's a small rural community outside the city of Hamilton, and we've been a long-standing Kin Club for a long, long time. My background is I work in recreation and community development programming. And so I love to be a part of the Kinsman Club and the Kin Club of Flamborough because I get an opportunity to do things on my own without kind of that mandate of working for a municipality. So I get to explore a little bit more with my passion outside of kind of that scope of the bureaucracy that is working with the municipality. Currently, I'm in charge of all of the youth engagement for the City of Hamilton. So a lot of the things that I'm going to talk about today, we do on an ongoing basis with the City of Hamilton and empower our young people to get involved in their communities and to make amazing things happen. Like I said, I've been in Flamborough Kin for 7 years. That's my beautiful family. My son Lucas, he's 2.5. He's a miracle baby. So we are very, 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 very proud to have Lucas, and I'm a proud, proud dad to him. This is us on Jersey Day for the Humboldt Broncos this year. I was very, very proud to lead a fundraiser. We raised about $1,000 to go to the Humboldt Broncos Fund. So, my son Lucas acted a little bit as like our poster child. So, you know, he's pretty cute. So we use that jersey to our advantage, right? So, I believe you're going to hear me use the word silos a lot. So, how many people have you heard the word silo before? Yeah. Okay. So, for those that don't, the word silo means when we work in our own little world. When we work in our own little world, we don't service our community. We service ourselves. And I think that I want you to remember that today. That's a message that I wanted to start today with because it's a very, very important message. All right? So, I'm going to have the age-old philosophical debate right now. Is it half full or is it half empty? Oh.
It's time for another beer run.
Yeah, it's time for another beer run? Yes. All right? Somebody needs to go to their cooler at Kin Camp, all right? If you think that it is half full, raise 2 hands. If you think that it is half empty, raise 1 hand. See, this is why I love this question, because it can be viewed in so many different ways. I personally am an optimist. I like to see it as half full. But it's okay to see it as half empty as well. And this is kind of one of my mindsets around why I look at it that way. Charlie Brown, the ultimate pessimist. Someday we will die, Snoopy. True. But on all the other days we will not. Right? Another one of my favorite quotes. What we focus on becomes our reality. If we focus on what is wrong or what is missing, we tend to see everything through that filter or frame. Right? When we have a negative mindset on things and when we look at that, everything we look at is going to be negative. And that's an important message to think of as kids. Right? And sometimes we can get caught in that. Because our actual motto is to serve the community's greatest need. And so when we look at things on what our greatest needs and what we're missing in our communities, we can get focused on that and not really enjoy and celebrate the successes that we're having. Agreed? Yeah? Thumbs up if we're in. Yeah? All right. Okay, another little metaphor. As you can see, I'm a big fan of metaphors. Okay? And so today I want to talk about something called asset-based community development. ABCD. And it's a really, really cool philosophy that's been emerging over the last 15 years. But it's really nothing new. It's just got a cool name and a model and a framework associated to it. This is one of my heroes. This is Dr. John McKnight. He created the Asset-Based Institute at the University of Northwestern, and he's considered the mastermind and guru of community development. Community development is the idea of bringing communities together for the ultimate goal of community. The experts at living in communities are the people who live there. Right? And this is what Dr. John McKnight believes in. So, if we relate that to kin, the greatest asset that we have as kin is everybody in this room and in this organization. We are the experts at being kin. Right? Asset-based community development, essentially, it's a methodology. It's about sustainable communities based on their strengths and their potentials, not their needs. Maximizing the tools in our toolbox to do amazing things. Right? We assess resources, skills, and experience organizing the community around issues that move its members into action, and then determine about how we take that appropriate action. We use the community's own assets and resources as the basis for development. It empowers the people of the community but encourages them to utilize what they already possess. Does that make sense what I'm saying? Right? Look at what we already have and let's celebrate that and use that to the utmost of our potential. Stop getting fixated on the things that we're missing. Because as we start using our assets and getting our assets out into communities, our gaps can be filled by other people. So I want to tell some stories about my work to open people's minds on outside projects different from kin. And then I'm going to talk to you a little bit about how we're doing this in the Flamborough Kin Club and how it's changed our approach just a little bit. Okay? So this is a neighborhood that I worked in for 6 years. This is the Beasley neighborhood in Hamilton. This is the downtown core of the city of Hamilton. It's where, if you've ever been to Hamilton, this is where Gore Park is. This is where Jackson Square is, where the Bulldogs play. Okay? And it's a neighborhood that was portrayed in a not very positive light. Okay? People looked at the Beasley neighborhood as, I mean this in a respectful way, but this is the terms that people were using, the ghetto. It was a neighborhood that had a lot of poverty. It was a neighborhood that had a lot of addictions issues. Many of the social services for the city of Hamilton are found in this neighborhood. And it's very, very easy to get fixated on those things. The shift in mindset, where an amazing community development worker came in and said, let's start looking at Beasley for what it's good at. And this was a part of a large-scale initiative by the city of Hamilton to implement more asset-based community development, resident-led community development. The experts about living in Beasley were the people who lived in Beasley. And so they went out and we started engaging with residents of Beasley. What is Beasley? Not a bunch of people making decisions based on stats and things like that. Those are important pieces to the puzzle. But what is Beasley? What is good about it? The heart of the city, central, diverse, and multicultural, historic. It's full of potential. Just some of the things, right? The residents, in partnership with the great work that was going on, had support to help create their neighborhood plan. An asset-based plan decided on by the residents, where now agencies could come on board and support instead of coming in and telling them what they were going to do. It took away the guesswork. And community development and plans like this are catching fire all across the country. One of my other heroes, Jim Deers, constantly talks to me about the work that's going on in Alberta, and he loves to tell the stories of what's going on in Victoria and Vancouver, especially with the youth world. As a recreation person, I looked at, okay, well, where do we as recreation play a role? And this was one of the things that the residents within their community felt would be an amazing addition. And can we use the assets within our community to make this happen? Recreational groups that promote active living. And so these were some of the assets. The Beasley Neighborhood Association, the residents who live there, myself at the municipality, our local university and their recreation and athletics department. This McMaster Athletes Care is a program where athletes get out into the community and support the initiatives that are happening. And Wesley Urban Ministries was the not-for-profit agency within that neighborhood who did amazing work supporting the people who were already there. And the first thing that we asked was, where do you want us to go? Do you want us to do seniors, adults, teenagers, children? And they said children, and we need basketball for them. In a downtown urban setting, we didn't have any drop or recreational house league style basketball. That was a major gap that was identified when we were doing asset looks. So these assets came together. We asked them what kind of basketball time they would like. The children of the neighborhood, we asked them. We took away the guesswork. And we created Neighborhood Hoops. A free program for children 9 to 14 to be able to come out and play in a structured setting and learn how to play basketball. We launched it. We literally built this program in 3 weeks and registered 55 kids in 6 days. We knew we were going to do that. Here's some of the pictures from our very first year of Neighborhood Hoops. It was an incredible, incredible, incredible experience. This picture on the top right, that young man had never played a game of basketball his entire life. And now he has got different universities looking at him to go to school. We have kids who have advanced now and are playing on higher levels and are looking at really, really incredible futures with basketball as the tool to do that. There's our very first day, our very first year, end of your year. And the different partners did different things. We had this much money, $0. 0 resources were dedicated to this project. But then as we started coming together and we talked about the different, we were each able to pull together about a $500 from each agency. So a $2,000 budget. And in 4 weeks, we had this. The kids all got to go to a McMaster Marauders game and got courtside experience, got to meet all the athletes. That was free. They got to go on a trip to McMaster and play their final 3-on-3 tournament for the year on the court there, with the McMaster athletes acting as their mentors. It was simple, it was easy, but it was impactful because we utilized the assets in our community that we already had. We didn't give up there though. We didn't stop. This is what we dreamed for the downtown core. This is Rutgers Park in New York. It is the biggest street ball capital in the world. And one of our assets within there, if you remember, I'd go back, but I don't want to, was parks. We didn't have a lot of gym space, but we had a ton of parks. Right? So if we had looked at, oh man, we don't have any gym space, we can't do this. We're out. Why? What's the point of trying? But when we looked at our assets, we could, and it was easier actually doing it in a park. What ended up happening is that 9-week program that we showed you in the beginning, that was a winter program, right? So we obviously had to be inside. But we had so much success and we had so many kids coming to us saying, I want to join hoops, I want to join hoops. They were seeing the t-shirts in the neighborhood. We ended up having 100 kids sign up for a summer basketball league. But the day before it was supposed to start, on that same court where our kids were going to go play the next day, we had a staff. So what the easy thing to do would have been to call it off, right? But you'll remember from the positives that Beasley people are strong. And they wanted to make sure that that asset was reflected. So we went forward. We went and we did it. We ran right into that park. We filled that park with positive things. And to this day, that was 5 years ago, we haven't had a single act of violence in that park. Our young people within our community were our volunteers, giving back to the community. They needed volunteer hours. Young people are an asset for volunteer work. If you give it to them in a way that they want to do it. They came out in droves, our young people who volunteered. And at the end of our 9 weeks, again, we had a really cool end of the year celebration. We brought out a DJ. We brought out the McMaster athletes, and they played our volunteers. They got to see our volunteers in the light of that they can play. And our volunteers won. Sorry, Mac, I wasn't supposed to tell that, but yeah, we won. We kicked their butts. And Neighborhood Hoops continues to grow. We are now at 3 different sites across the city. And we're getting very, very close to our ultimate dream. $0. As we started to grow, we were able to then start reaching out to other people. If you build it, they will come. So I called Canadian Tire Jumpstart and said, Canadian Tire, I got something here that I think you want to get behind. And right now, Canadian Tire Jumpstart and Canada Basketball fully sponsor this program where all the kids get a jersey, a backpack. They get a ball, a resource guide for their parents so their parents can help them and understand the game better, a poster, and all the funding to cover our staff. Assets, $0. That program now has a budget of $40,000 a year, and it supports 350 kids. Let me tell you about the Lansdale neighborhood in Hamilton. I worked in this neighborhood for 6 years. Again, another one of the priority neighborhoods that was getting support from the municipality and from the different community partners to do resident-led community development. These are some of the details about that neighborhood. 40% of the people who live in that neighborhood are considered under the poverty line. It's a neighborhood that had many, many challenges, but it's a neighborhood on the rise now. It's no longer 40% poverty. The residents have been able to empower themselves and learn new skills and grow out of it. Let me tell you a little bit of a project that we were able to do with that. These were 3 of the different things that they wanted to do that had relation to recreation. Okay? They felt like these things added to their neighborhoods would make their neighborhoods a better place. I'll read them out loud just in case people can't see it. It says, promote adopt a park and clean team initiatives. So make our parks more beautiful. Don't make them an attraction for negative behavior. Fill it with positive stuff. They wanted to create a Gallup Pride or neighborhood stewardship project where residents could fix something and make it their own. And they wanted to improve the variety of recreation programming in the neighborhood. Again, infrastructure was at a premium. We did not have a lot of space. But we did have a lot of park space in that neighborhood. And in that park, there was a building that was abandoned and basically just sitting there, and there was nothing going on in it. It was like a disaster, an absolute disaster. So the residents came together and started to look at their assets, and their assets were them. And they started to tap other people on the shoulder around the community and say, hey, can you help with this? So their energy was a passion. Their enthusiasm was, their energy was an asset. Their enthusiasm was an asset, right? Their amount of people who were willing to help was an asset. So when you don't have to spend money on labor, you can save a lot of money, right, everybody? That's one of our biggest assets here in Kin, right? Because they had all of these different people now who had come together around this common goal, they reached out to a show called the TVO Giver Project. And TVO Giver brings kids to help build parks to do it. So because the ability that they had brought all of these different people, that they had all of these amount of people who cared about this, TVO said, this is easy for us. We go there, immediately we've got the 100 volunteers that you need to do this project, boom, done. And the kids in the neighborhood and the volunteers rebuilt a park. Here's our inside of our abandoned building. This was pre-baby. You can see my dad bod wasn't nearly as in full effect. I had short hair then. I had time. Well, I say I had time to shave, but apparently that day I didn't. And what I'm showing these are our two project managers who were responsible for figuring out what we were going to put in this space. So because TVO came out and did it in the beginning and put that money in the outside of the park, the local councillor in the neighborhood said, well, we got to fix the inside now. Ball kept rolling. So we did a visioning session with the neighborhood where they could come out and tell us what they would want to do in this neighborhood or in this building. Oh, there we go. And we also asked them, how can they contribute? It's not just about what you want, but it's how you can contribute as well. All of those people had a different skill or passion or teachable or something that they brought to the table. Maybe it was just that they were willing to tell somebody about that was coming. But everybody felt like they were a part of the project. This is my friend Sarah Merritt. On our very first day when we reopened the building, we ran a movie night and children's programs and arts and crafts. And we turned our abandoned building into that. I chose these two projects in specific to talk about. Why do you think I chose these? These are projects that I see kin clubs all around the country doing all the time. But we also hear the challenges that they go through it, trying to do it. And there's many, many times that they do a great job of bringing partners in. Right? I bet you all are sitting here like, Jess, yeah, we know, sometimes we can't do it ourselves, and that's okay. But when we go into any type of project or any type of thing that we're working towards, we should be thinking about how it connects in with the different parts of the agencies and the different part of the community. And so one of the things that we've developed is a little bit about, so how do we do this? How do we get people so excited? How do we get people to understand what their assets are? Okay? I'll leave that up because I see some cameras and stuff like that. Okay? And I'm going to just read it around the circle for maybe some people who can't see the bottom. So it starts at identifying a common goal. What is our community's greatest need? That's where we fit into our mandate. What is our common goal with the community? And who are the assets and or stakeholders or people who can support that? Doesn't have to be with money. Then we ask, how will we collaboratively create that vision and plan? So we go through exercises and things like this to help people understand what their role is, what asset they bring to the table, and how they can help. You'll hear with all of these two stories as well that we take small steps to build the other people's passions. We don't try to do, you see our Rutgers Park dream. We didn't think we were going to do that in a year or 2 years. We knew that that was a 5 or 10 year vision. And that over time we'll continuously keep building on the momentum and continuously get there. Maybe Jumpstart will give us more money. Right? Maybe we'll find new partners that will come on board. Tell your story to your community every chance you get. To this day in Beasley, I am still nicknamed Captain Hoops. Because I literally never shut up about it. It got to the point where people stopped asking me if I had an update at the meetings and said, okay, Captain Hoops, where are we going with Hoops? What are we talking about today? And people saw my passion. They saw my enthusiasm. They saw that I believed in this. And they kept getting on board, and they kept building, and they kept wanting to support it more and more and more and more. And they saw our residents' passion for wanting to grow this. This is the key thing. I am a huge nerd when it comes to data. I hate guessing. I hate it. And anybody who I've worked with in the community development field, they will tell you, stop guessing. There's no reason to guess. Because if you guess 50% of the time, you're going to be wrong. Go out and ask people what they want before you get there. And keep track of how you're doing it and what successes you're having. Track the amount of numbers. This is why I was easily able to say we have 55 kids the first day in 6 days. And we support 355 kids to this day. That's an impactful number that I can tell all of you. Numbers don't lie. And they help build your case. And then you keep going back around the circle. So when we have data in the consultation, that's our evaluation phase. How did we do? What change do we need to make any changes? Do we have new goals? Do we need new stakeholders and new assets to continue to move forward our goals? And you keep going around, and around, and around. Actually, I'm going to go back here first. I want to talk a little bit about our club now and how we've used this model. So our club, we have about 8 or 9 members. We have a very wide spectrum. We have Tom Smokey Winger, who is 92 years old, right? And our youngest member is about 28. We don't really have anybody in that middle age frame. So we have a lot of people who are raising kids. We know the struggles that young people face nowadays with getting started with families. Affordable housing prices, cost of childcare. Young people don't have a lot of time. Our more senior members, or veterans as we like to call them, they don't have the same energy level as they once did. And so when we started going around this, our common goal, what we said to ourselves originally was, well, we as young people need to do more. Right? So how can we do more? So we went around, and the first thing that we did is we looked at assets within our community. So we looked at some of the events that were already existing going on. We are very fortunate to have a partnership where we have a hall that we operate and collect all the revenue from. That's our major asset for our club. And so as we collaboratively started going around and we started to come up with all these different ideas that we could do with our assets, we quickly started to realize that one of our gaps was that we didn't have a lot of time to be doing a lot of planning and to be doing a lot of that kind of side of it. To run our club, we barely had enough time to run our club with the where we were at. And so to try to do a ton of events in the community, that wasn't a reality for us. But we had the strength of money. And we had the strength of people who were willing to volunteer, give up a couple of hours here or there. And so our philosophy now became, let's enhance other people's events. So we started donating to a lot of cystic fibrosis events. We started looking at promoting other people's events within the community, using our network to enhance other people. And we're starting more and more to engage new people, which will hopefully allow us, as we start getting around the circle more, to start doing these projects and using the assets that we have in different ways. So that's been our shift. And while we've been doing our asset mapping, what we've started to realize. Make sense? Everybody with me? Yes? Head shakes? Boom, done, amazing, okay. So I want to talk a little bit, I'm going to pretend I'm David Letterman for a second. All right, I don't have an envelope where I'm going to hold up to my head or anything like that, but, no, that was Johnny Carson. Yes, you see my hair, you see my facial hair, I am a millennial, you can't hide it, so. Our top 10 tips for collaboration. My friend Marty Makins will definitely agree with me on this because I have put out some very stupid ideas in the past. There is no such thing as a bad idea. Put it out there. Say it out loud. If somebody thinks you're crazy, they'll tell you. Right? And if it is crazy, people will be like, yeah, I don't really know if that's for us, Jess. But put it out there. Because sometimes when you say it, you think, yeah, that kind of does work. This one I think is pretty, I'm not even going to click, I use this for a lot of different groups who are not familiar with what a terms of reference is. But the fact that we're at National Convention, where we basically, a big part of it is talking about what our terms of reference and our governance model is, I think we can skip over that. But even, what I would encourage you to do is even look at this with your project teams. Right? So if you're bringing multiple people together from multiple different organizations, or multiple different partners, how is our group going to work together? It doesn't have to be a huge, intense 20-page document. But even just, this is what our team's doing. This is how we make decisions. Do. Make sense? This is very important. Collective decision making. For my friends from D1 who heard me speak at last year's district convention there, this is something that you know that I strongly believe in. Collective decision making means that we don't elect people to make decisions for us, that we work together to make decisions as a whole. And that sometimes we have to compromise in the middle. Is it efficient as if we elect somebody to make decisions for us? Yeah, it's definitely having that elected person is definitely, as my phone rings. How did that turn back on? I'm doing a magic trick apparently in my pocket. That one's for you, Kim. I can only imagine what the live stream comments are right now. But when we do collective decision making, yes, it takes a lot longer, but you get the impact that you heard in these stories. Because everybody is on board going forward. You remove that, I hated that decision that person made. Allow your light to shine. Anyone ever in here see the movie Coach Carter? With Samuel L. Jackson about the basketball team? And okay. For those that haven't, it's a movie with Samuel L. Jackson. And it's a true story about how he takes over a high school basketball team that has won 2 games in 4 years. And they come from a very tough neighborhood, gang violence in the neighborhood, a lot of drugs running through the neighborhood, and the guy takes them on a perfect season. Until those kids don't go to class, and he kicks them out of the gym. And the whole town goes nuts. because it's the United States and it's their sports. They go nuts. Guy gets fired. They tell the kids to go back to play. The kids won't go back. And the whole movie he keeps asking a young person, what is your deepest fear, Mr. Cruz? And what Mr. Cruz doesn't realize, because the whole movie he's like, I don't know what the hell he's talking about, is that it was his assignment for English class. And so finally Mr. Cruz stands up and he has the realization. And he says, our deepest fear is not that we are inadequate. Our deepest fear is we are more powerful than beyond belief. When we let our own light shine, we subconsciously give permission to others to do so. And the whole movie is based around this message. When you show people that you believe in it, subconsciously everybody in that room, they get permission to know they can do it too. It's an important factor. Create tools that allow you to track to keep all parties up to date. Again, I think that this is one of those ones that everybody in this room agrees to, would understand it. Work plans, newsletters, databases, social media accounts. Keep people up to date with what's going on. Work plans are my favorite thing, because, and especially with some of our new technologies, with things like Basecamp and Google Drive, you can literally in live time be able to keep people up to date with what's happening within the project. Same with Twitter, like even just Twitter and Facebook and social media, right? Yeah, we'll go here next. Okay. Don't work in a silo. Don't work in your own little bubble. Don't be a bubble boy or a bubble girl or a bubble they. Get out of the bubble. Get out of the silo. Understand what the things that are important in your community. Talk to your elected officials. Understand what other groups are doing in the community. Put yourself in the other's shoes to understand how the project benefits them. If we're going to invite people to the table, there's a point of selling it a little bit. I will be honest with it. Especially in the beginning if you are in communities that this isn't a common thing. In Hamilton now it's just like, hey, we're doing a collective impact thing. You want in? Yeah, I'm in. What are we doing? Because we're familiar, this is how we do work now in a lot of community groups. But you have to make them understand that. Marketing and network is always a benefit to bringing people to the table for them to come. When you can, how many of us when we get projects when we're like, we have to have the KIN logo on it? Right? Right? That offer to people is huge. The fact that you're going to make connections and learn more people in the community to maybe open up more things for your organization. People want to do those kind of things. Sell that to them. Get them to the table to do that. Bring their asset to the table. And talk about where one of their struggles is that you can help fill in the gap. I'm going to ask my AV friend maybe if she can go down and click Democracy there. How many of you, have you guys ever heard of a Democracy before? No? So this is a Democracy. One of the biggest challenges that you have when you're coming up with these collective plans is how do you create priorities? Right? And then you have these like 3-hour meetings completely dedicated to identifying a priority, right? And that can be tough. And people don't want to go to those. Unless there's food and beer. Or maybe some liquor. We'll see. Depends on what kind of party you're having. But these are amazing tools that help you within your community to identify priorities. But we even use these in our clubs to do voting sometimes. To get an understanding, and then we'll do our formal motion and vote. So we'll do things like, okay, we got to run an event. Or we're going to do a fellowship event, right? Just to bring everybody together. Do we want to go drink beers at Jesse's swim-up bar? Yes, I have a swim-up bar. Come. It's 2.5 hours from here, but feel free to come down tonight. But you get what I'm saying. So you can literally then give people stickers. And come and tell me here, okay, I think, what kind of program do I want to get? I really like dance and fitness. And throw me a point for sports, and throw me a point for specials and workshops. And boom, I understand where people are at with their priorities. Ah! 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 But most importantly, especially with kids, don't have meetings if you can. Yeah, obviously, we have to have meetings. I mean this, I think you all kind of get where I'm going with this, right? You have to have meetings, you have to make decisions, but it shouldn't look like a meeting. Okay? Have a party. Enjoy yourselves. So 99% of my meetings that I do, especially with young people, there is pizza. There is drinks, not drinks. Drinks. Water and pop, soda. Okay? We always play a game at the beginning and at the end of the meeting. How we are actually physically having our conversations is in game format. So I'll give you an example. At our last meeting, I asked the young people, if I gave you $1 million, what would you do? And then I played the Bare Naked Lady song in the background, and they all called me old, but... right? And they went around the table and gave all these amazing ideas. I donate to the infant food bank. I donate to the Young Mums program. I build more bike racks and more bike infrastructure. Right? Amazing ideas. One said that they would build a mall. I said $1 million is going to build you a pretty crummy mall. They said it would be my mall, though. So I really wanted to try to find that Let's Go to the Mall from How I Met Your Mother, but couldn't do it. So in closing, because I'm having so much fun up here with you all, but I guess I should probably get off of here. How am I doing on time, or do I have more time?
You're good.
Oh! Oh, good, I thought I was on time. Yeah! We get to keep more. So on your tables, everybody, I put a worksheet. And I've kidified it. Kid doesn't realize, but they're getting a graphic design invoice. No, I'm just kidding. Yeah. I think it's a good thing I can't read what that says. But this is a very common exercise that we do with groups to help identify assets within their community. And so I want to take a little bit of time. How much time do I have, Christine?
10, 15 minutes.
10, 15 minutes, okay. So we are going to take about 7 minutes and 36 seconds. Get your stop times. All right? And I want you to, within your tables, just kind of have a little bit of a conversation like this. I want you to start opening your minds to some of the assets that could be within your communities. Right? Think of things like parks and rec centers and pools. Think about businesses. You see the questions. Why am I repeating questions you're asking? Right? And what I'm going to do is, when we come back, I'm going to call on a couple of people to just kind of share some of the different assets that they came up with. Right? Remember, people are assets. So we usually, under the community organizations, who are the different community organizations? That's where we put individual people who are assets. That's where we'll put them. And I'm going to wander around, and you can ask questions, or you can tell me, if you have any feedback about what we're talking about. I always love to meet new people and learn. Yeah? Okay, ready, set, 7 minutes and 32 seconds as that light blinds me. Go. Oh, I should have read that. Yeah.
I started watching the screen.
I don't stand still, I know. Yeah. Anybody have questions or want to ask me anything? Just throw your hand up and I'll work my way over there. This side is blue because I look up and I see it and it looks blue, so. Yeah, you're okay.
No grip for you.
So we have an asset in the back of the room that gives you a good photo bomb opportunity. questions here? Cornhole? Alright, yeah. Flammer, yes. We're less annoying now. We don't walk around and say, let's go flammer. They were all young. So they started either to go to school, so their careers on. So it didn't make sense that they lose. So we have a lot of them that just come and go on. This is part of where I talk about our team's growth. I think what our assets are is about revenue. But because other ones or the jobs, they have a potential
Setup here. What are you running for software and stuff?
OBS, or it's called Open Broadcast.
Right.
Okay.
And with that, you could actually put even a green screen behind the guy if you wanted, couldn't you? I've seen that before.
As long as you have one of your scenes that is like the guy has a green, and then you can.
Yeah.
In this situation here, I actually have two sources. So right now we're streaming this.
Yeah.
From the PowerPoint.
That's your program feed there.
PowerPoint. Yeah, that's the view for the broadcast, and that's the preview.
Okay.
So at this point right now, I had the camera a bit off.
Right.
At one point, it's okay.
So you're getting two feeds, one from them, one from the camera.
So if I can switch my scenes. Here's one.
Yeah.
With the logo, but the camera's centered on the podium, so it looks like it's stuck on the
right.
And I set up one that's just the speaker. That disappears. So
that's very cool.
Before we begin the actual meeting, whatever, we just have that.
And you pick up the audio feed, whatever program audio feed she's got, that's what you're going to get.
She ran a cable right up the ear, and
Yeah.
And it's a software.
It's so great that you do this, because there's been years where I've watched it.
Yeah.
Because you're, what, 4 years into this now?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Had a bit of glitches yesterday because my power supply on the other laptop died on me. We lost twice feeds, but they go well.
And it's cool that you can flip over to the PowerPoint or back to the speaker, and you just hit that button.
Yeah, transition. So you keep changing the scenes that you want next.
Yeah, and that's free software?
Yeah.
Nice.
It's open source.
That's awesome.
Yeah. And eventually, they really want to, they can actually, this is just a webcam, right? It's like high definition.
You could have a mobile cam where it's moving around. That might be a good investment.
Or I can actually, because it's USB based on this case, the source is USB, I can have another one but reverse.
Right. Oh,
So
yeah,
I can switch the scene when you're talking, switch to the scene or whatever.
Or just have another, or have two cameras. Have one locked off this way over the crowd, even from high up behind.
Yeah. Or if you get one of the Wi-Fi security webcams, you can start switching from one feed to the other. So now you're sitting over there, beside this lady instead of being here.
Yeah, well, you could have a remote cam, like one of those this size. That's cool. I'm glad you do that. Thank you.
I'm finally not moving around. All right. All right, you can hear me, clap your hands once. If you can hear me, clap your hands twice. If you can hear me, clap your hands 3 times. If you can hear me, repeat after me. Woo! All right. So, anybody feel comfortable enough to stand up and be brave enough to share an idea that they came up with at their table? Except for that table? And I didn't see Dustin behind you too. That made me sense. All right, anybody got one? Somebody yell one out for me. Approach another service club. Other service clubs in the area. Anybody else? Social network. That's a great asset. And you know what? You can even look at it from the social network is looking at existing ones that are already going and helping to promote that one. Yep. Newspaper is an asset within your community. Our municipal offices. Where's my friend I was talking about over here? What was the weird asset we were talking about over here? Knowledge. Knowledge. Yes. Yes. Okay. Anybody else? Papers. Yeah. Okay. How many clubs have halls that they maybe have access to? Oh, I can't be the only one, right? Oh yeah, okay, here we go. They're all behind us, okay. Right? Anybody write down parks? Or pools?
Yeah.
Parking lots. Interesting. I like parking lots a lot. Sometimes parking lots are looked at as a negative thing in communities. But they're also great event spaces. I love that one. That's a really good one. Anybody else? Going once? Libraries. Nice, thank you. That's another great one. Swim up bar. Yeah, my swim up bar is definitely an asset. Yes. Yes. Fields. Big spaces. Right? One of the things that I say is an asset for me is that I work in community development. That's an asset. So our club utilizes that. Right? I have knowledge of how government works. We utilize that. Right? So there's our knowledge piece. Okay? So, there it is. I keep losing my clicker. You're welcome. So, in closing, I really like to finish off with this. Think big. Think Rutgers Park. Right? Think Stampede. Shout out to the Calgary Kincanas. Okay? Think big, but start small. Most importantly, though, start. All All right. Cheers, everybody. Thank you so much for having me.
Jesse.
Wait for it. Wait for it.
Jesse, on behalf of all the delegates, thank you so very much for taking the time to come here and speak with us about asset-based community development. Also, please thank your wife for sharing you with today, because I know I got a lot out of this, and I'm sure everyone else did too.
Yeah. If we have time. If we have time, we can do, I'll take like 3 or 4 questions. I don't know, how am I doing on time? Are we okay to do 3 or 4 questions? Timekeepers?
Yeah.
I want to make sure people get a chance, because I do have to run literally right after this. Going once? Going twice? Perfect. Okay. Just wanted to make sure. Just wanted to make sure.
Wait, you're not supposed to leave the stage yet. So
I'm trying to run away, apparently.
You are. What I was trying to continue saying is that your session has been so timely. And it fits well with what we've been learning about throughout this weekend. One thing that particularly stood out to me was that when you mentioned that we focus on what is missing, it's easy for us to give up on the great possibilities for our communities. However, when we look at the assets, we find out that we can. On top of that, success is when we utilize the people and groups within our community and their assets. It empowers them and gives them ownership of the projects and keeps them going on, like your group's program. You have stirred me to step it up this year and take into practice the principles that you've talked wherever I can. And I hope that's the same for everyone in this room. So thank you very much for sharing your knowledge, your experience, and your definite enthusiasm. You are an asset to Ken.
Thank you very much. Hey, everybody. All right, thank you, everybody.
Thank you, Christine, for that. I'd like to call upon National Education Training Committee member Jan Lamalagu for our next introduction, please.
My club, through the eyes of someone else. As Canada becomes more diverse, are we providing an inclusive club environment for all of those who might seek us out? President Terry, guests and fellow kin, I'm not going to sing because some people know how I sing, but maybe I'll play a tune. I'm delighted to introduce our next guest speaker, Lindsay King. Lindsay is the club support coordinator and staff liaison with the club support committee. She has a degree in recreation and sports business with the University of Waterloo and has been with kincanada since November 2016. Prior to joining kincanada, she accomplished various coordinator roles with the University Athletics, work in event management, and recreation programs. Lindsay brings great experience from a variety of positions, working with many different stakeholders, group, and a wealth of organization and planning knowledge. This workshop, created by the Club Support Committee, and presented by Lindsay, will challenge your own perceptions and provoke a new awareness towards inclusivity. Family of Kin, Lindsay King.
Good afternoon, everybody. This is also being helped out by the rest of the club support committee today: Marlene Hanaszewski, Carol Cooper, Doug Christensen, and our new national director, Lucy Boissonneau. Sorry. So today we're going to be going through an exercise a little bit different than the ones we've done so far, where you guys are going to be creating a dialogue. You're going to be working with your tables through a couple little cards I've placed and sharing your thoughts within your groups, small groups, and then we're going to be talking about inclusivity in the context of your home club and in Canada as a whole. So the population of Canada obviously has changed quite a bit in the last 100 years, and even more so in the last 25 years. And we need to ensure that as Canada continues to change, that we continue to change with them. Obviously, as Canada, we strive to be the first choice service organization of Canada, and we need to ensure that we reflect and are welcoming to everyone within the country as it stands today. So to start, this is my little intro, as much talking as I'll be doing today. Everyone on their table should have a card that kind of looks a little bit like this. It's face down. There might be a couple Kin pens on top of it, but every table should have one except for right there, right in front of me, and on the end. So if you don't have a card, please move to a table with an open seat, make a new friend, come together. And then with these, I'll give them 1 second to move. Can I get the next slide too? Okay, there we go. If everyone's found a table or is close to finding a table. So on your card, the first page is going to be a character. This is the character you're going to become for the next 40 minutes or so during our talk. The committee and I have come up with some questions. Those are the next 3 cards. Try not to look ahead. Look at question 1 when the time comes. And we want you to think about these questions from the context of your character you've been given. So we're going to give you some time to discuss as a small group and share your thoughts at the table. And the committee members, pointed out earlier, are going to be walking around, floating around. Feel free to bounce some ideas off of them, ask some questions while you're having your discussion as you're working through your time here. So we're going to give you a minute to, actually, keep that up. There's 10 characters. They'll be on the screen if you guys want to look at the rest of them while we're talking. But everyone, I think there's 2 of every character out there, sometimes 3. So take a minute to generally think, read over your character, think about what your life would be like right now, what it has been like in the past, what it could be like in the future, what you're working towards, and discuss at your table your character before you look to question 1. I'll read up question 1 for you. So take a minute to discuss your character as a whole. And then question 1, if your character were to arrive at your home club, would they feel welcome? Why or why not? So take a minute to think about your character and then work through question 1. You can jot down some notes if you need to. Take about 5 or so minutes to do that.
Stay still. Oh, like you were kind of okay. Like as if you were talking. Yes.
That's all.
on to the next question. So we'll talk about question 1. We'll talk about question 1 before we start moving on. All right. So within your tables, does anyone have anything they'd like to share? The committee members are going to be floating around with the mics. We'd like to hear your thoughts, preferably from one of each character, on how your character would feel welcome in your club, why or why not. And before you speak, if you could just let us know what character you have.
Our character is an African-American man practicing as an ER physician in Canada who is new to the country. And if he arrived at our home club, of course he would be welcome. 1, the more people in the room that know how to save my life, the better. And 2, why not?
You're forgetting about the drugs.
We are a 24-year-old woman looking to start her career after just finishing university. She has lots of ideas, but is very new to the service world, our partners in kincanada in general. She is also legally blind and walks with the aid of a guide dog. We felt that she would be welcome in not only the 3 or 4 clubs that we represent at this table, but probably in any kin club. However, we do acknowledge that it would probably be somewhat awkward with the dog at first. A lot of meetings are held in restaurants or things like that. And just some of the places we live, accessibility is sometimes an issue with stairs and such. So, however, having said all that, we felt that certainly she would have a lot to offer. We didn't think the disability should or would take anything away from her being a member. University grad, so her degree may come in really handy for the club, depending on what it was. Like maybe a doctor, you know. Anyway, and she's coming to us, so she obviously wants to get involved and make friends. So anybody that comes knocking at your door and asks to be a member, you're going to take a serious look at it.
We have a single father with 3 kids, ages 4, 7, and 13. They're all living apart from their extended family in a different province. We actually had 3 answers to this one. One would be he would be welcome, and it wouldn't matter whether he's single, married, with kids or not, and the club's probably not going to find that out until later anyways. Another one was he may not be welcome because some clubs don't know how to welcome people in their club if they're not local and know one. They don't know how to take in someone who they know nothing about. Yeah. Some clubs are very much, they all grew up together and that's what they know. And we said that if he went to a Connect club, they would probably send him to the local Kinsman club while offering to help find babysitting. Because Connect rule.
Okay, we had a transgender woman, a man transitioning to a woman, living in a small town in Upper Canada. So of course the question being, if they arrived at our club meeting, would we be welcoming? So we assumed that we were a King Club because we represent 3 or 4 clubs here. So assuming we were in a King Club scenario, we would like to think that we would be very welcoming, but there would be certainly some challenges as we would be, knowledgeable, or it would be good to think that, well, not good to think, but we would know that some would not be necessarily as welcoming, as they really just need some time to deal with. The chances are, if it's a small town, they probably know the individual anyway, so from a transition perspective, maybe they just have trouble understanding why and how and such, which could be driven by generational issues, preconceived notions, and just generally, it could be just some folks are just generally less tolerant or have the stereotypical small town syndrome. But given it's a small town, that could also work in their favor, knowing full well that it's a neighbor and be a little bit more welcoming. So it could go either way.
One more?
Our character is a refugee man looking to get involved with the club who speaks little English. Our discussion kind of went both ways. We'd like to think we'd be very welcoming, and I think a number of members in our club would be. The biggest challenge would be communication, and making that person feel welcome and getting them to come back when you're struggling to communicate in our language, because depending on the language, we wouldn't have the skill set to communicate in their language and vice versa.
Does anyone else have anything else they'd like to share for question 1 for any other characters that haven't been spoken for yet? We'll get all the characters eventually.
Ours is a man who struggles with his mental health, anxiety, being in large groups.
Yes, they would be welcome, and we welcome all, and we would adjust accordingly. And body language would be the big thing that we would watch, because we didn't know coming in that they had anxiety. So we have to be observant, and then reel them in quietly. So body language is a big one.
So we're a gay male couple living in the city center who just moved to the country from the United States. So we basically came up with in the current state of most of the clubs in our center where we were sitting, the dynamics of the clubs are still too old school, and it would make it very hard for these individuals to be in that club. We also came up with some ideas how we could solve those ideas by getting them involved with projects. This takes the gay scenario right out of the way.
We have a woman in a wheelchair with physical disability hindering her from walking. By no way would she feel unwelcome. We are so accepting. It's the accessibility. Many of our provinces, everything is accessible, or we're on our way to being accessible. We've renovated bathrooms, we're putting in ramps. If you don't have a ramp yet, we've got our Kinsman Foundation in British Columbia that we can get the ramp to you. So acceptability is definitely not, and it's also a point for education. All of these scenarios give us a way of educating ourselves and them, educating them about kin, and us being educated about their diversity and what we can do for them and what they can do for us.
We can move on to question 2. It's somewhat similar. Question 2 is what you've already kind of started to dabble in a little bit, so just thinking a little bit deeper into the topic. You've already started to touch on it, but think about potentially your house rules, your agenda, your meeting place, what you say before a meal, what you do for your social activities, what type of town do you live in, is it rural versus urban? Do any of these help or hinder your character? And a couple of just follow-up questions to think about as well while you're kind of discussing this, to think a little bit deeper, a little bit more specifically. Would this person still feel welcome? How so? What would their experience be like? If this person came to one of your meetings for the first time, what challenges would they face? and how you encounter these challenges in your own club at all. If so, explain, and if not, what would you do? So take some more time in your small groups and talk about some of the more specifics to do with your everyday club life, and we'll have a big discussion. seconds to finish up your thought, and then we'll do a little discussion about question 2. Get everyone's attention and we'll quiet down. Perfect. So now that you've had a chance to think through your character a little bit more, thought a bit deeper, thought about more some specific pieces of your club or specific issues or challenges, does anyone have anything to share off the bat? Open it up. I will start picking on characters. Oh, or that. Go ahead, Marley.
So we had a woman in a wheelchair with a physical disability hindering her from walking. As to accessibility for projects, some of the projects would limited active participation. We don't feel that it would hinder them in any way. There may be some projects that they can't do for, say, religious purposes or something like that, so that is their choice whether or not they do it. The club could find other ways that maybe they can still participate, but not fully participate. At our table, we felt that there was no project that could not be changed in slight ways that they could help. One of the clubs here has a fireworks display. They work in a trailer. They said, yeah, it wouldn't be a problem, have them do something outside or the Facebook page, whatever. Another club has a fry trailer. They can change it so that they're selling the tickets outside the business instead of inside the trailer, that type of thing. So we felt that there was nothing that could hinder that person completely.
Our character was a young male in his mid-30s. He was new to the community, unemployed, and without personal transportation. So we found that, of course, he would be welcomed. He might face a couple of roadblocks when it came to the cost of meals, the cost of transportation, as well as dues, depending on which club we were dealing with. In past instances, I know our personal club has had this type of situation. We subsidize a portion of our dues, the rest has to come out of the individual's pocket, and as long as there's the intent and the commitment to the club, payment plans, as long as that person was showing that they were of value to the club, just like any other club, independent of employment status, then they would be more than welcomed into the club with an open discussion of the situation to make sure that they were as welcome as possible.
So we had the 24-year-old woman that just finished university. She has lots of great ideas, but she's new to the service world, and she's legally blind, but she has a dog, a walking dog. So we said that she would definitely be welcome, and that there wouldn't be anything that would kind of hinder her from coming just due to her disability, but due to all the clubs kind of in our table are more rural clubs. So since she's so young, a lot of the clubs that we have here at our table have a little bit more of an older population. So the youthness of her, it might just be hard to keep her engaged. She might just not feel like it's a good fit for her. But other than that, we said there might be a possible challenge just depending on where she lives. Because it is a rural area, how she gets there. If she lives out of town, it might be hard for her to get there with being blind. But if she was in town, there'd be no issue. That's about it.
Just a little mini follow-up with that character. One of the kind of tricky things I think Marley mentioned a little while ago is that have you thought about like your meeting location, if dogs are welcome, if you're meeting at someone's house or dogs are welcome, is anyone scared of dogs in your club? Is your agenda on paper? Can she read it any other way? Is it an audible format? And those types of questions too.
All right, so a table with two guys at it gets character number 3, which is a native Canadian woman living on a reserve in a rural community with only a kinsman club in the area. So it would be hard right off the bat with the gender issue because it's going to be hard for her to feel welcome. We looked at it and go, okay, well, guys we know, we're going to be interested in having her be an asset of the club. For the sole fact that, hey, all of a sudden we don't have to pay for tax on things. Reality, right? But it's, yeah, how do you keep them engaged? Ideally, you would assign a member to be the liaison with that person to make sure that we continue to ask that person to come out and volunteer at our events. It couldn't be a member based on the house rules and the club rules, but we would certainly want to have that person feel included. If there's nobody else if there's no other service club in the area or organization that we could introduce her to, then we would do our best to accommodate and have her help us with our events. Because Lord only knows we all need people and bodies at events. Our club has a list of people that have been members in the past or want to help us but aren't actually on our roster and don't come to meetings. We do need to be better at managing that, so that's where the idea of assigning a member to that person comes from, so that's that one member's responsibility to make sure that communication happens. Yeah, and aside from that, that's basically all we have.
Quick follow-up question. Knowing that, because your clubhouse rule is that she couldn't be a full member, would she truly feel welcome?
That's the yes. Not like, but if there's no other game in town, you got to do what you can.
Okay, we had, our character was the refugee man looking to get involved with the club, but who speaks little English. And we had said that yes, they would be welcome, and but we would look at things like cultural differences and why we say the word God in our grace. Maybe that needs to be changed. It has been an issue in the past for some members that have chosen to leave because they didn't know they were joining a religious organization, which they're not, but we still use the word. And about those religious differences, looking at where we hold club meetings. Are they accessible to any religion? Do we hold meetings in a church basement? Things like that. And projects, different projects, seasonal projects like decorating Christmas trees, Easter baskets, things like that. And I'm not suggesting that we take away those projects, but we diversify our projects and make sure that everybody's welcome. And I would like to think that this is probably a good time for everybody to really think about not whether we would welcome this one member, but if these are concerns, maybe we need to proactively think about changing the culture in all of our clubs so that we're not waiting for this one member to come through the door, and we make sure it's a welcome environment for those members to find us.
Absolutely.
Our character is a man or a person who struggles with mental health. And we focused on our traditions and opening of our meetings, such as singing the kid song, holding hands, saying grace, doing address to the chair. Some people have issues either through mental anxiety or even through religious affairs, getting up and doing these different attitudes, which many of us in this room, being long-standing, grew up with it. So we're thinking, is it time to change and kind of bring in some maybe other traditions, but just kind of make sure everyone's welcome. And in the mental health issue, was talking about their what? With the anxiety, but their mannerisms. Where they're not looking in your eyes, so to keep track on the members to see how they're fitting in, but just being aware that everybody may not be comfortable doing our traditional opening of meetings.
As I was walking around, I talked to a table who had experience with, or Anita, if you wanted to share your story. Sorry to pick on you.
Our question was actually originally the easiest one, somebody with a wheelchair, so yes, it's easy to deal with. But we do have experience in regards to the transgendered in our district, and the gentleman at the time did belong to a kinsman club where their house rules specifically say men only. They did have a connect club where this person didn't feel as comfortable, being that it was a very, very, very small town up north. So what the person did is, in conjunction with talking with the club and some of the district members, is he did actually transfer prior to the complete transition to a larger city and moved into a kin club and has been completely accepted in that area. So there's certainly ways around it, and as long as there's open and honest conversation, we can certainly move forward with everything.
Any other thoughts on question 2 or anything else? Or any other characters that doesn't have to necessarily be your own character that you've experienced in your own club already? Yeah, Debbie?
Just a little story that came from a couple of years ago in our district, where we had a young gentleman who joined and got very involved right away. And one of the, just after one of our FLCs, he actually came out to the district on the Facebook page and said, thanks very much for everybody offering to set me up with their young nieces and things like that, but I am a young gay man. And the support he got was, great, let me introduce you to my nephew. So we are understanding and sensitive to that for the most part. We've shown that, and it was really nice to see that this young man took the step and said, hey, I'm going to put it out there and see what happens, and everybody was so caring and supportive.
Anything else to add for question 2? Or any committee members? Any follow-up questions for anybody or on any of the characters or anything else to add? Okay. So the first 2 questions are more getting you to think about the life situation that character is in, about the kind of details of their lives. Ooh, sorry. And then question 3 is kind of thinking, which you've already started to reach into, is that solution mindset. So taking kind of a page out of Peter Sheriff's book from yesterday or this morning now, Days of Blending Together. What do you think we should do? One of the questions he asked us, one of those top 4 questions. So question 3 is, what are some solutions as a club or as an association as a whole that could be implemented to overcome these challenges you've identified today? So take some time in your small groups again, and then we'll come back to the large group.
This is how we do it, yeah. Yeah, they've given, they changed the whole thing. They've started, it's really, yeah. That's didn't know where your last part of your presentation was, so I asked the guy who was in the room. Okay, fabulous. Awesome. Thank you.
Yeah, it's funny though.
But looking at it, we are adapting slowly because 50 years ago, the Kinsman Club would not be as accepting, perhaps, as it would be today, or whatever. Even accepting women in their club, or even thinking about being in the club, right? My understanding, like 50 years ago, that would never have been spoken out loud, right? So we are adapting. We're just not adapting as quick as society, I think. Yeah. I agree with that statement. Not immediate here, but I think it's
There's a big
I just got a time warning that we only have 10 minutes left. So I can get everyone's attention. We'll talk about question 3, provide some solutions. Do you have any volunteers that like to share for question 3, solutions?
It was kind of ironic that we got the question that says, a refugee man looking to get involved with a club who speaks very little English. I live in a community where at the packing plant outside of town, there are over 100 different dialects spoken, and a great number of those individuals are refugees. So, we need to let them know that they're welcome, whether they speak English or not. And from my experience and what I did for a living for 37 years, it's not hard to communicate with somebody. We need to go to them and see what they can offer us. The Muslim community in Brooks, every year, along with a lot of the other groups, and these people are Filipino, they are Somali, they are Pakistani, they're Afghanistan, you name the country that they come from. There's a multicultural fair put on every year in Brooks by the different groups, and we need to go to them and ask them what they can offer us and find out what we can offer to them, and ask them to come and work projects. This past June at our rodeo, one of the girls in our club recently got hired at JVS packing plant in the office, and we were really short volunteers. And she went to some of the girls at the plant and said, "Can you come and help work in our food booth?" And it was the best experience we've ever had in our booth. Those women worked really, really hard, and I looked at Tricia when the project was over, and I said, "We need those girls in our club. Go back to them and tell them that we want them at our meeting in September, and bring them all to our meeting."
And one quick point to that, Sheila, was that even through my research and reading up on kind of volunteerism and inclusivity and diversity and whatnot, is when you brought up the multicultural fair, is that we need to get involved with those and kind of bring Canada to those events and whatnot, and make our brand present at those more inclusive multicultural type events and whatnot. And so even your club setting up a booth at the next multicultural fair, that'd be fantastic. Thank you. Yeah. Oh, sorry. Thank you.
Let's have the talking stick. I'll throw in later. Just a reminder, so we have the transgender woman, so the man transitioning to a woman living in a small town in Upper Canada. So the only, we identified 2 solutions, and one is really being a little proactive and just having the discussions with our clubs in advance to say this is a possibility. So let's put it out there to talk about it today, so that when the situation does arise, we can act like mature adults in the room and just be accepting of it right from the get-go. And then as well, removing creating gender neutrality within our bylaws, within our clubhouses, whatever the case it is that we need to do, just to create that scenario so that it's not just something we have to deal with because we've already fixed it.
Yep. Exactly, and that's part of that being proactive, not reactive, and having that culture change, that culture shift. As Canada continues to change, we change with Canada.
Furthering what Sheila said about approaching those individuals from different ethnic backgrounds and whatnot, clubs, there's probably an asset out there that you're not aware of, and it's something, speaking to what Jesse spoke about earlier about assets and community-based assets. Recently, I transferred positions to Immigration, Refugee, and Citizenship Canada, where I'm a manager of an office in Niagara Falls, and we're responsible for doing citizenship ceremonies. Depending on the size of the office, and look for an IRCC office in your area, depending on the size of the office, there will be from 2 to sometimes 5 ceremonies in a week at these, welcoming new citizens, ranging from 20 to 50 citizens at a time. IRCC invites organizations to come and sponsor a ceremony. What's involved? You come out, you put out maybe some refreshments, some cookies, some punch, and you greet the new citizens as they come in. You tell them about your organization. You can have them go out to do an enhanced ceremony where if you're having an event, you can actually have them show up and they will do a ceremony. We could have had one here this weekend where they would have come in with a citizenship
presider, and they would have sworn in 20 new citizens right in front of us. So it is something definitely, if you want to hit that new immigrant component. These people have been in Canada for at least 4 years. They've got some basic language skills, and they often are looking for organizations to pay it back because they want to be part of the Canadian community. So reach out to them. It's a whole group of volunteers that we're not utilizing, and we should.
Do you have any volunteers? So any other characters looking to share? Yeah.
Thank you. All right, so our scenario was a single father with 3 kids, age 4, 7, 13, all living apart from their extended family in a different province. So we struggled with this one because this sounds like a lot of us. This isn't really too diverse. So for this one, we thought, whatever scenario, be sure that the first contact that these people have with your club is a person that is actually open and understanding and welcoming to anybody that's coming into the club. And one other thing, and we never really discussed this at the table, but I know that we probably all feel this way, that anybody coming into a club, it's our individual choice to make them feel welcome. It's not the club's responsibility to make them feel welcome. It's my responsibility to make them feel welcome and included in the club. So that's what I think. And I'm doing kind of things too.
I think it was Peter's talk yesterday too that talked about choices, and you choose to engage or do whatever you do. No one else chooses for you, but you choose. So good tie-in. You have a volunteer? Can I pick on the gay male couple? Share your thoughts. Do that.
So we basically said that to try to resolve the problem, being honest at the beginning by saying they probably wouldn't be welcomed in a kin club in a major center, especially in a major center in our area. We would definitely make sure that as members we would get the executive to outline that this is now a legal issue by not allowing gay couples into our club. It also would come down to making the club follow national rules. We just start to need to be more inviting and opening the doors. We also discussed the fact that this now opens the doors to a whole lot more profile for us to get out into the community, start doing gay pride parades, stuff like that.
And just like getting involved in multicultural affairs too, getting your name out there with different communities, and one of them is huge in Pride Month in June. Can I pick on one more? Can I pick on the native? Oh, never mind.
We had the transitioning male. It's not specifically related to that. It was just something that had come up that you can't legislate inclusivity. You can provide tools to make it easier, but you can't legislate it without causing resentment, I find, in a group that doesn't want to be inclusive. So we can offer ways for you can educate all you want. You can do, if a certain group doesn't want a certain type of person in their club, it's going to be awkward, it's going to be tough, it's going to be, like that group said, if it becomes a legal issue, things like that. There's things that we as an association need to have in place to do that. But on the grander scale is on this stuff we're preaching to the choir. And we need to take this back and get to some of the clubs where this may be an issue and really it's support. We can't bring in, we can bring in all the rules we want. People won't follow them. My club follows very few. And we won't start because there's more brought in. But it's also going to have to be a generational change, a fundamental ideology, and it's going to take time. But in the meantime, support.
And does anyone else have anything to share? Any volunteered characters?
Just kind of touch quickly on that one because we had the Native woman trying to join a Kin's Men Club, and I think that as there's several solutions already existing inside our organization for this situation, and it really depends on the club that she's approached as to how you go forward. Do you A, become a kin club? Do you B, help this woman charter a connect club in your area, or see some other option? There's a club in our zone that has a woman that does the majority of their administration. She's not a member, but she's probably the most dedicated member they have. So there's workarounds, and it's all about what works for the club. And one of the things I love about kin is that it's not legislated from the top down. It's what works for the club going up. And the clubs have the option of doing how it works for their club.
So that second to last comment actually brings us into a closing pretty nicely. I'll leave it there for now, and thanks for your conversation, your thoughtful pieces you had today. Just a quick show of hands for curiosity's sake. Does anyone feel kind of uncomfortable coming into the session or thinking about inclusivity, diversity? You're just a little bit off about it? Be honest. Yeah. Does anyone feel any more knowledgeable or a bit more thoughtful now that we've had a bit of a starter conversation? Good. That was the point. So hopefully we got you starting to think about inclusivity and diversity in general for Kincanada as a whole in your home club today. And hopefully there was some thoughts passed along or questions or ideas or success stories or challenges or triumphs that made you continue to think and things you want to bring back to your home club as well. And on that note, bringing it back to our home clubs, the committee and I have actually created this breakout type topic into a take-home exercise as well. So it'll be available on ICANN after a convention's over. It's downloadable with the full script, your steps, your printable worksheets that you have on your tables, the whole kit and caboodle. It's all there. So you can download that, take it back to your club, do it with your club, do it with your zone, do it with your district, maybe take it to your FLC, and continue the conversation on a smaller scale with a smaller group so you can keep those ideas flowing. That was the next slide.
We have one more comment.
Oh, sorry.
Hi everyone, I just wanted to talk a little bit about social media as well. And keeping in mind how you present your club on social media, right? So, or how you present yourself as an individual on social media and what kinds of things you're liking or commenting or sharing, because that could really affect some people in your club or just people in your network and you don't even know that that's kind of out of line for them. So being careful on social media, and also as an association, one of my priorities heading into our new year is to have more diverse marketing material, because we don't showcase a lot of different types of people online or on our website, that kind of thing. So thinking about that in your own club, what do you present online? What kind of conversations do you have on your Facebook pages and things like that? So trying to present an open and welcoming environment in person when someone comes to you, but when someone comes to visit you online, you have to think about that as well.
And definitely a great piece to add. Thank you. But thank you for a great conversation today, and hopefully we got you starting to think. This is the very baseline start to think about this kind of conversation. Hopefully you take it back to your home clubs as well. So thanks for your time and attention.
On behalf of everyone here in the room, Lindsay and the Club Support Committee, thank you. This venue is an excellent way for us to have these roundtable and open forum discussions. As we sit with others outside of our own club, we have the opportunity to discuss in an open atmosphere and hear different opinions and ideas and, of course, resolutions. So thank you, Club Support Committee. Well, family of kin, that concludes today's educational sessions. We hope that today was time well spent, learning, laughing, understanding ourselves and each other with emotional intelligence, our communities and building them up with our assets, and diversity in club life and membership. We have one more piece, tomorrow's Lunch and Learn on volunteer screening, that I'm sure will be just as educational. Thank you for contributing to a great day, to all of our speakers from yesterday and today, and to you, family of kin. We hope you enjoyed the approach this year to education with trying a different format, keeping us all in the same room, and the NETC looks forward to your feedback. So it's my pleasure to turn the microphone back over to our National President.
Lindsay just wants to make sure that you leave the character cards on the tables. You don't take them? Oh, they're going to collect them. All right. So you guys just give us 10 minutes and we'll wind up for the day, and then you're good to go. We just have, I'm going to make a few announcements. For the seating tonight, there's no seating plan tonight, so it's first come as you get here. The tacky tourist costumes and stuff isn't until after the service banquet tonight. You do need to sign up for dinner tomorrow night, so that I believe the sign-up sheets are at the back. Following this, at 4 o'clock, just a reminder that there is the MVP caucus. Steve Lowe is in the Blue Water room, and Brian Cooper is in the Sinclair room. And the cards, if you have any questions for the MVP form tomorrow, at the end of the session today, that'll be it. So make sure that you get them to Mitch. If you guys, if you want, Mitch or Amanda or any of the board members will take those cards for you. Also, tomorrow is Red and White Day. Can you believe I didn't bring anything red and white? Can't even imagine. What crazy.
Sales has plenty of shirts.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. And so I'm going to call up Grant to do a few thank yous.
National President Terry, guests, fellow kin, could have been the whiskey, might have been the gin, could have been the 3, 4, 6 packs, I don't know, but look at the mess I'm in. Anyways, and I'm also supposed to say, you are the better golfer. That day. This association is truly blessed with a whole bunch of people who put their talents forward to serve at the national level, particularly in the operations committee. About 3 years ago, I started reaching out to a lot of them and asking them to join me on this journey of creating a slightly different approach to what we want to accomplish. And some of them are actually coming to the end of their terms with great sadness for me. And some of them are actually moving on to higher aspirations, moving on the board. So I'd like to call Lucy up to thank her for her service to the club support committee. This is your day because there's nothing tomorrow for you. So.
Stand up.
Thank you. Stand up. I am standing.
Oh, there we go. Nice. Also, Holly Babcock is actually taking on a new role within her district, and she's finished up with her term with the National Awards and Recognition Committee. So, Holly, thank you.
But it's just a little sad.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And good job.
Thank you, Grant, for taking the stairs.
Thank you. Safety first. When we reformed or recreated a committee, the National Club Support Committee, we asked Doug Christensen to stay on, particularly because Doug brought us certain analytical skills and some institutional memory. Doug is now finished with that committee, so I want to call Doug up to thank him for his service. about 3 years ago, I had met someone in St. Mary's for coffee, and this person had just taken on the role as chair of the National Education and Training Committee. That was 3 years ago, and I told her what my vision was for education and training, and we sort of made sure that we were both aligned with where we wanted to head. And she said she'd love to continue on to do that. And but 3 years later, her term is up. But she has agreed to stay on the committee for a little bit longer to help us through. So, Terry? Thank you, everyone.
So just to bring this home today, I'd just like to talk a little bit about, back in March, or April I guess it was, our service director along with myself attended the CF Volunteer Leadership Conference, and we met this amazing young girl, Annie Bartlett. She was supposed to speak with us today. This was her slot at the end of the day to inspire us all. Annie was 20 years old, and she passed away last week of CF. Annie shared her story with us at the leadership conference, and there's a video that I'd like to play that represents Annie. She was full of life, so inspirational. Nothing could stop her, and it just brings us all back to kin and all that we do. And I'd like to show you this video to end the day, and when it's over, you can leave the room. But she's just so inspiring and just a leader to all of us. So we play the video.
I'm at St. Michael's Hospital in Toronto to meet an amazing young woman named Annie. She has cystic fibrosis, but she has not let that stop her from pursuing her dream of dance and raising awareness on behalf of the cause. Her wish is to stand in front of the 18,000 young people at We Day Vancouver to inspire them. We want to surprise her. She thinks this is the final stage of the interview with Make-A-Wish, but this is when we get to tell her the great news that her wish is coming true.
So Annie, why don't you start by telling me just a little bit about yourself?
Yeah, so I have a lot of interests. I'm like a folk dancer. I do Irish folk dancing. I really like to make paintings. The big focus for me right now is getting into all sorts of galleries. On a day-to-day, there's a lot of treatments. Some days it's really difficult because every breath just takes the energy out of you a lot. At my old school, it wasn't the best reaction. I got bullied quite a bit and stuff. Mainly it was just getting teased because I was sick so often. People kind of know that there's something wrong with you because you're coughing so much, because you miss school, because you get so sick. But it means that you can tell whoever you want and whoever you trust. Sometimes it's pretty hard telling people, but I'm pretty open about it.
Well, Annie, I definitely have something to tell you. I'm not the only one who wanted to come with you from the day team today. So we actually have a special guest who wanted to come get the chance to meet you and say hi to you. So.
Hi, Annie. How are you doing? I'm Craig. So good to meet you. And they were actually a little sneaky because this isn't the vetting. This is the invitation. We would love you to come to be on stage.
Oh my gosh.
In front of 18,000 kids.
Thank you so much for giving me this opportunity. And man, I'm so overwhelmed.
So what are you going to say to 18,000 people?
Oh my gosh. The main message is just not to put somebody in a box. Like, I'm not a sick kid. I am a person, a whole person. This is like my one wish. I could do anything I wanted in the world, and this is what I'm choosing to do. It means so much to me.
I need you to make as much noise as possible for Annie Bartlett!
My name's Annie. I'm a visual artist, a folk dancer, a feminist, a jiu-jitsu fighter, and I have cystic fibrosis. My disease has opened my eyes to how harmful stereotyping is. Back when I was in elementary school, I got teased. People called me sick girl. Being sick became my personality. Knowing I'd have this disease for my entire life, I wondered if I'd later, despite getting frequently sick, I graduated from school with honors. Alongside playing 4 instruments, knowing 5 types of folk dance, becoming a dance instructor, and leading campaigns for social change. I wanted to come here and say that I am more than my disability. We are unlimited potential and cannot be defined by one label. My name's Annie. I'm a visual artist, folk dancer, feminist, jiu-jitsu fighter, weekday speaker. Thank you.
I love that you've chosen a wish where you want to actually do more good in the world.
Well, what's the point in somebody giving you such a big opportunity and helping you so much if you don't help other people with it?
So that concludes today. I hope she inspires us all. And so we'll see you all back in here at the service banquet at 6 o'clock. Bruce?
Just Bruce. I'm also a CF fighter. In the last 2 weeks, we have lost 2 of these CF fighters to cystic fibrosis. Currently, we have a young lady in the hospital, Tara Bork, who has just gone through her 2nd double lung transplant. I'm putting a call out to those clubs that come with $1 or $2 in their pocket to work with the kincanada Foundation through KinAssist, because Tara's on day 22 of her recovery and she still has to pay rent, food, she has to be available, and it's a minimum of 3 months. Cystic fibrosis is a killer, and we're one of the biggest supporters through the kincanada Foundation and KinAssist. We can help. We can give directly to help Tara make a recovery and become someone that's old and has kids of their own. Cystic fibrosis needs to be a thing of the past. Remember the foundation, KinAssist, and Tara Bork. Give generously. Thank you.